Hello, hello, it's Kevin here. I'm going to go through scoring for that example essay that I wrote yesterday, just to give you some idea of what the scoring would actually be like. Okay, so let me just get this here, get rid of that. That's the criteria, and the essay should be here. Okay. So, word count, 28 words, that's done already. So we've seen the topic. So, task response first. So, all parts of a prompt are appropriately addressed. All parts, question 1 and 2. Okay. Fully explored, a clear, fully developed position which directly answers the question or questions. Ideas are relevant, fully extended and well supported. Well, let's have a look. So, these days self-employment is the choice of many people, so I paraphrase the topic. In my view, down to a design to set your own working conditions. So that's answered question 1. Main downside, lack of stable income. I've answered both of the questions. Working for yourself, you decide, ability to set your own hours. As I mentioned at the time, there's a progression. Sentence moves on to sentence. Sentence, we've got a particular example. As an online teacher, I can work whenever I feel like it. I can charge what I like, etc. Paragraph number 3 is basically the same. Making a good living, not guaranteed. I might not be able to maintain a full weekly schedule. So again, a progression, this leads to this, leads to this. Making a good living, not guaranteed. Competition, can't make a full weekly schedule. It means I may be better paid on some weeks. So if we go to task response, all parts, fully explored, I've got a clear position, directly answer, relevant, fully extended, well supported. A lack of focus, well, no, there isn't. Overgeneralize, well, no, it's pretty clear, explicit. This leads to this, leads to this, leads to this. So, task response, quelle surprise, I would give it a 9. What about cohesion, though? Cohesion and coherence. Your paragraphing, your internal logic. Well, is there any problem in following this, in following the actual message? The cohesion attracts no attention, so there's no firstly, secondly, on the one hand, on the other hand, no restating the topic, so there's no obvious markers here. And paragraphing is good, of course. Message can be followed with ease. Logical sequence of information and ideas. And if we go down, a progression, this sentence leads to this sentence leads to this, clear central topic, etc. So I would give that a 9 as well. If we take a look at it, so there's no firstly or secondly, there's no clear, just reading it, it's obvious that this leads to this leads to this. There's a progression. I don't have to use markers. It's obvious. This is the intro. This is one idea. This is the second one. I could have put in conclusion at the end, but, when you read it, it's obviously a conclusion. It's wrapping up and restating. So I could have made it more obvious here in conclusion, but there was no real need to do so. So the main thing here is that the cohesion part, if you look at the last sentence of the previous paragraph, it leads into the first sentence of the next. If you look at how that works, how it's been actually written. So if you do it like that, you don't need to do this first, second, and however. The reason why this is another good reason why you don't have to do that. If you want to write a Band 9 essay, as it says, cohesion, what's it say? No attention. So all you've got to do is make sure that the last sentence of your paragraph connects to the first sentence of the next. This links to this, links to this, links to that. You don't need to use these obvious discourse markers. Now, if you're aiming for a lower score, if you're not particularly aiming for a 9, if you don't need a 9, okay, having that structure can be good. But if you want to be aiming for as high as possible, that's what you do for a 9. You don't have to do, like I've seen lots of essays, they basically say something like, the main reason why people do this and that is because of blah, blah, blah. Instead of saying people do this because, they specifically say the main reason why some people would argue this or this. You don't need it, so don't use it. Now, lexis and grammar. As you might expect, my grammar is perfect. Wide range of structure, appropriate and accurate. No impact on communication. There's no errors there at all, as you might expect. Lexis. Again, my vocab is pretty good, I think. Have I used a wide range of vocabulary? Well, let's take a look. So if you saw the previous video, you'll see I was talking you through how I was using different terms, such as working, work whenever I feel like it, making a good living instead of working, what to say, so being a freelancer. So in terms of synonym, talking about self-employment, instead of saying self-employed, 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 so I've got self-employment is the choice of, okay, their own working conditions, basically what you say, working for yourself, self-employment or freelancing. I can work whenever I feel like it. Allows me to charge what I like. Making a living. Maintain a full working weekly schedule. Being a freelancer. Currently reject working for others, so I've turned that round. I do use self-employed there. You can't paraphrase everything. Individual working lives, being self-employed, self-employment. So you can see there's quite a wide range of vocabulary there. It's not self-employed, 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 self-employed. So that is pretty good. I mean, then there's not too much else I could really change there. There's some collocations and other things that I use, but obviously as a native you might expect that. But the main thing I wanted to point out there is that range of vocabulary. Instead of self-employed, 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 which you would see in lower scoring essays, if you look at the criteria, again, wide range. Natural, sophisticated control of lexical features. Wide resource. Okay, so that's what you need for those. I'm not going to say anything about the grammar, because obviously there's nothing wrong with it. I don't think so. I can't see anything. No, looks okay for me. And no run-on sentences, no particularly long sentences. Punctuation's good. Yep, so I would give that a 9 as well. So basically, again, I don't want to blow my own trumpet. Well, but obviously, as a native, I should be able to write in such a way. Now, I want to point out one last thing, right? This is not perfect. Let me just come right back here, right? Now, when you see Band 9 essays on other people's sites and channels, right? What they've done, they've basically written an essay and they've thought about it, and they've changed it, and they've moved this, and they've moved that, and they've... So they can, so they can say, okay, this is a band 9 essay because of X, Y, Z. Okay, because of cohesion, of task response, etc. Now, I could have done that, and in some of my previous videos and blog posts I have done, but for this particular example, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to show you, I wrote that in 28 minutes, 30 seconds. So that's about more or less the time that you would have in an examination. If you think about it, you've got 40 minutes in total. So task 1 is 20 minutes. Essay is 40 minutes. So you need at least 5 minutes or so. Analyze the question. What's the micro words? What's the topic words? What's the keywords? Think of some ideas. Make a plan. Put some stuff down on paper. What's your key points? Some possible examples. So you've got a plan. You write it. 2 to 3 minutes at the end to check punctuation, spelling, grammar, etc. Okay. So how I approached this was more a real life, real time. Not like a lot of teachers where they'll have a band 9 essay, but they've planned it out and they probably haven't written it in 30 minutes because they've changed things to make it better so they can give you a better illustration, which is fine. But for this particular essay or video, I didn't want to do that. I want to give you some idea of how I would approach it as if I were taking the exam. Now, obviously, I know quite a lot about essays and writing. I've written several hundred. We've got some example books that you can buy if you wish later on. And I had some clear ideas about where this essay would go. So it's not like I had a topic and I wasn't really clear or sure. If that were the case, even a native than I would be struggling. Okay? So it was real in the sense of writing in real time. Possibly not real in the sense, but if you've prepared correctly, then you should have some ideas for most of the major topics too. Education, health, society, transport, crime, etc. So that being said, I don't think that was too bad an example. So, excellent. I hope that will do. I'll end it there and I'll see you next time.